You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 112. Do you want to make the shift from an insurance-based private practice to one that's based on private pay? Are you wondering how you can make that payment option more attractive for your future clients? Well, guys, adding packages to your offer is one way to make that possible. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly what that kind of package should include. And stick around to the end because I actually have a template I'm going to share with you that's going to make this ever so much easier. I've got it all figured out for you already. Ha! So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. This is Wendy Pitts Reeves, your host, and I'm so happy to be hanging out with you guys today. How are you doing? How's your week going? How's your summer going? Have you been listening to the podcast for the last few weeks? Did you hear my interview last week with Kim Lang about how to add digital products to your offers? Was that not just the coolest conversation? I mean, she's really got it going on. And you know, where she was going is something that all of you can follow. The truth is that there are lots of ways to enhance revenue to strengthen the cash flow in your practice. And you guys have heard me talk a lot here about what a difference packages can make, right? Well, what does that actually mean? If you're offering the same service day in, day out, somebody comes and sees you every week for week in, week out, whatever, like what does that look like? What would a package look like there? Well, I have learned a thing or two about that. I'll tell you that in the beginning, I can remember thinking, oh, a journal would be nice. And maybe even a nice little pen that would go with it. Yeah, that would make a great gift for my clients, I thought. And it was just one of the things that I was thinking about adding to the first round of counseling packages that I wanted to offer in my practice. When I finally, the day came when I made the leap from an insurance-based practice to a self-pay psychotherapy practice, that was a big deal, guys. And some days I will tell you that full story. But when I did, I wanted to give clients options for how they could pay for services. Because of course, yeah, it was a big deal. We were switching from having to pay a copay to having to pay the full fee. And I'm not blind. I know that's kind of a thing. But I knew that packages could help. And I'd already had enough coaching. I'd already learned enough at that point to have that basic principle down. And I was determined to come up with at least 3 levels or tiers that they could choose from. And the more expensive the package was, the more tempted I was to add things in to make it, quote, worth the cost, unquote. You got that? Well, that was what I'm going to call mistake number 1. The truth is that when you are designing a service-based package, well, there are lots of things to consider. And one of them is, what are those packages going to entail and how they will be used? Because one of the tricky things about this is that these are packages for ongoing services, all right? Now, the pricing is a whole different conversation. I guarantee you that's going to stir up some resistance for some of you. It's going to bring up guilt for some of you, not to mention just a little old-fashioned confusion. I'm going to address all of that in a separate episode later, so don't worry about that. Today, I just want to talk about what to consider if you are thinking about putting together packages for your service-based private practice. So if you are a psychotherapist and you see people on a regular basis, or you're an energy healer, you're a massage therapist, you're a life coach, and you work with people for a certain period of time, any of those kinds of things, this is going to be helpful for you. It's especially helpful for those of you who do the same thing week in, week out with somebody. Now, the trick is that in our industry, in the psychotherapy world that I come from, when it comes to what we offer and how we price our services, we're not super creative, to be honest. But this isn't that hard, y'all. This part isn't. Once I figured it out, once I realized that the mistake I was making in the beginning was I was making it harder than it needed to be. That was the mistake I was making. I was actually trying to create what I would today call more of a signature package. And I'm going to talk about that next week. So that's kind of a different ballgame. I want to talk with you today about how to put together your very first simple service-based package for your ongoing clients. Okay? Now, just as a quick note here, if as we talk through this concept here over these few weeks, if you find yourself being really intrigued by it, but a little overwhelmed by it, or you're just not quite sure what to do, and you would like a little sitting beside you, doing the work with you, kind of helping you think it through, I am more than happy to do that. I love working in someone's business with them. It's one of my favorite things to do ever. So we can do that with a quick start consult. And you can get that. All you got to do is go to my website, which is wendypittsreeves.com/consult. And you will see there a description of what kinds of things this kind of a consult can be for. But I'm just going to tell you right now, we can totally use this to map out your packages. So I just want to put that out there in case you find yourself kind of going, while I talk this through. But for now, let's talk about what to consider when you are deciding what to include in a simple, we're talking basic service-based package. I can think of about 4 basic areas that we need to cover. We're going to talk about the content of the package. We're going to talk about the value of the package. We're going to talk about the time that the package is built around. And we're going to talk about some of the extras that you might want to include. Okay? That's where we're going to go with this. Okay. So let's start with the content of a package. Now, this will be different for this kind, the service-based package, from what I'm going to talk about next week when we talk about signature packages. That's a whole different thing. But here, the content of this package will vary depending upon the nature of what you do and how your services are used. But in a nutshell, it's basically your ongoing service, okay? So do you offer some kind of a straightforward ongoing session like psychotherapy, physical therapy, energy healing, massage, anything like that? And if you do, that's the core, like that right there. That's the core. That's the core content of a basic package, just the actual everyday services that you provide, okay? But you may also include something like some kind of a group experience or a series of assessments that you do or periodic assessments that you do. Or maybe you offer in-home visits. It was Soribel Martinez that I interviewed a while back, who in doing in-home work was the thing that kicked off her 8-figure mental health career. So like that's a pretty serious package right there. But the very first thing you want to think about is, what is the actual content? What's the stuff? What's the glue? What's the service that this package includes? And just a quick little tip here, y'all, less is more. And that's what I mean by, in the beginning, I made the mistake of wanting to sort of fancy it up. Less is more. And I'm going to come back and give you an example of all of these in a minute. I just want to talk them through first. The second area that I want you to think about is the value of what this package offers to them, the value that you bring as part of the package. Essentially, this is kind of like, what's the transformation? What's the goods? Why is this good for them? Okay. So some things to think about. What kind of training or experience or guidance will your clients or customers get by working with you at all. That is an important part to consider in this package. So for example, if you are a licensed professional, then you have the credentials that probably come with a graduate degree or a professional license. Even if you don't, let's say that you have been through a certificate program, or you've just got life experience, but you've got 30 years worth of doing whatever it is you do. Your clients get the benefit of that level of education, of your education and experience. And y'all, that is part of the package, that they get that level of expertise. But you may also offer extra skills that come from advanced training in something like EMDR, therapeutic massage, or healthy cooking, so that they get access to special tools, processes, templates, systems, things that you employ. They get access to that. So like, for example, when I coach when I'm doing my business coaching for private practice owners, they're getting the knowledge and the expertise that I have gained from 25 years worth of running a group practice, which is not nothing, y'all, as well as all the things I have learned through my own investment in coaching over time. That's part of the value that I bring to the table. What's the value that people get when they work with you? Like, here's why it's worth it to work with me, people, because here's what I know, here's what I do, here's what my experience is, here's what my training is, here's what my licensure is, etc. All those kinds of things. What do you bring to the table? Okay. Because that too it's not as tangible as X number of visits, but it is very much a part of how this whole thing looks. Okay. The third area that I want you to consider as you are putting your first package together is time. And that can mean a lot of different things. So how much time does this package cover? Like, what's included? Is it a day, a week, a year? How much is included in this? And how much time do they get with you? Now, there's lots of ways to measure this. We may be talking about the duration of an appointment. It's a 50-minute session, a 90-minute session, a 2-hour session, a half of a day intensive, a full day VIP day. All of those are examples of a package in itself. But let's say, like, they get X amount of time with you, X often, like the frequency. Is it once a week, once a quarter, twice a year? Maybe they get something like after hours access with you, which is extra time. Maybe they get 2 15-minute problem-solving phone calls a quarter that are sort of like crisis management. Who knows, right? For example, I know a therapist in Virginia who treats addiction. That's her main thing, is to work with addiction. And when she set up her packages, I love this. This was one of the best examples I've ever seen. She, with her own experience talking about value, because she had had years of doing this work and because she had developed a very specific way that she knew worked. It was her own method, her own framework, her expertise, and her like, this is how I do it because I know this works. It was that, right? It was kind of her stake in the sand about what she does. Well, she set up her packages around what she felt like it took to get somebody on their feet in the first year of sobriety, doing things the way she likes to do things. And the way she liked to do things was working with people for 2 sessions a week for the whole first year. 2 sessions a week. There's your time for the whole first year. There's your length and your frequency. I think they were standard 50-minute sessions, but I'm not sure about that. They don't have to be. They could be 90-minute sessions. It could be 2-hour sessions, whatever it is. And in her package, she required that they paid for that year up front. A full year of twice a week. This was a brilliant example of a package that was developed not just to make good money, although it did, but to do good work and deliver top quality of service in the way she knew how to do it. So she set it up the amount of time and the contact with her that she knew that they would need and that she would make sure they got. Y'all, that was like I think when she first offered it, she was pricing that at like $18,000. I'm pretty sure she's gone up since then. And she was getting it because she believed in the value of her own skills. She knew she could help people. And she felt very strongly about what it was going to take to help them. And by golly, they followed her lead, which is brilliant. But in other examples, I've seen practitioners offer 6 sessions as a package based on a visit count, just the number of visits, period. I've seen people offer 3 months worth of services. That's based on time. Just earlier today, I was looking at a local yoga studio that had a pricing of $49 a month for unlimited visits. Unlimited. They didn't break it down by the number of visits, sessions, classes, whatever. It was over a period of time. That's a package. I've also seen people do 3 days in a row as a package built around an intensive. One of my early business partners used to provide coaching with a mental health informed practice to people who flew in from around the country. And because they went to so much trouble to get here, she worked with them for a 3-day period, and it was intense. It was really good. They got a lot of work done. It was life-changing. That was a package. In my VIP level package now, and I've talked about this in different ways. There's different ways of thinking about this, but as what I call the select. So there's service packages, there's signature packages, which is more like a unique program of sorts. And then there is a select package, which is your VIP level. At my select package, clients work with me intensely for at least a year, sometimes 2. And they get a lot of time and a lot of access to me that comes with that level of commitment. So what works best for you with your clients? That's what you want to start thinking about. What do you know works for them? And again, I am talking about your ongoing mainstream core service. Nothing fancy. The thing you do. The thing you're known for. Okay? And then finally, the last area that you could consider as part of this is, are there any little extras that you want to throw in? You could call these bonuses. You could call these add-ons, or little luxuries or VIP elements that you could add if you want to take this up. Like, let's say you had sort of like a basic level, maybe an intermediate or fancy, a little moderately higher level, and maybe you had a VIP or premium level. Maybe that you had 3 different ways people could work with you, and they got different things at each level. Well, what kind of packages could add more value, or what kind of bonuses or add-ons could increase the value or the perceived value? This doesn't have to be something that takes time from you. It doesn't have to be something that uses your energy. There are lots of ways to add this, okay? So what kind of add-ons, what kind of extras could make even your most basic package a little bit better? So I knew somebody, for example, who held women's retreats. I think she was doing them like 3 or 4 times a year. But every time she sold a women's a retreat, like she had a particular lodge, I think that she used, she had a certain number of VIP spots that cost like 3 times the cost of the retreat. But with those VIP slots, people got access to a certain number of private rooms. They got a personal pickup at the airport, so they didn't have to worry about getting an Uber and figuring out how to get there. And she said that those VIP spots were always the first to fill, even though they were much more expensive. On the other hand, a simple bonus like premium scheduling. Let's say that you work with families with kids, school-age kids. Maybe one of the add-ons is that with one of your packages that perhaps they pay a little bit more, they get first dibs on after-school appointments. Like, it could be something that simple, okay? That can be really attractive to stressed out parents who have 3 kids and are trying to figure out how to make it all work, right? And, with all that said, yeah, sometimes you can also throw in a journal and a fancy pen too. That can also be nice. That can also be an extra. That's just not something that you're going to do with a package that you do over and over and over again. So I want you to think about in your business, in your primary business, the main thing you do. Have you found things that work in a certain way really well? Have you learned things that like you don't need so much? What makes it better for your clients? So I will tell you in my own practice, when I first began to experiment with this, and I've got a whole story about how I came up with my first signature package, but I'm going to save that for later. What I will say is I started off with what I now know was that idea, which was basically putting together something that was way too complicated and way too fancy and just way more than people needed. For my ongoing counseling clients that I see week in, week out, it's different for everyone. In my practice at this stage of the game, it's been different over the years depending upon who I was working with. But at this point in my life, what most of my people do is they will come and see me every week for the first few months that we work together, maybe 3, 4 months, 5, 6 months. But then they tend to spread out a little bit and they might come every other week for a while. Ultimately, a lot of them get to where they come once a month because we do a lot of good work and we make real progress. And then they reach a point where they're like, I'm kind of good, but they still like to have that touch point, right? Well, they don't need a whole lot of bells and whistles. But if I could provide them a way to pay for 3 months worth of visits all at once and save a little bit as a result, well, they like that. And a lot of them have done that. All right. A lot of them have done that. So what I have put together for you is a template that isn't pretty. It's not fancy. It's not branded. It's just a basic, like a letter that you could type out and give to your clients that has a description of your packages. And I want to tell you the way I did this was I did it almost like bundling together visits, almost like you go to Sam's or Costco and instead of buying the blueberry muffins, you buy a set of massages or a set of energy sessions, right? Or in my case, a set of counseling sessions in this case. And the way I did it was I bundled them together. I was thinking about it in terms of time, like 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, but it can also be the number of visits. I landed on 6, 12, and 24. It could just as easily be 5, 10, 15. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever you want it to be. But what I have done for you is I have put together an example for you of what this could look like if you want to offer your ongoing service clients the option of paying in advance for a certain number of sessions with you in return for certain benefits. Could be better timing, better scheduling options, could be a discount on the price, could be they get an extra late cancel for some reason, something like that. Could be that you throw in some kind of a curriculum, some kind of a DIY course that they get as well. I don't know. Could be that they get some kind of extra, like, let's say you are working with, I always go back to the parenting one because that's such an easy one to use as an example. Let's say you're working with parents with preschool age children, and part of the extra that they get is they get a discount to a parents' night out. Like you have a collaborative arrangement with a local organization or group of some sort of, and they agree to offer your clients a 10% discount. So part of what they get when they buy 3 months worth of sessions with you is they get a coupon for 10% off for a date night once a month with not free, but vetted, safe childcare. How about that? Totally just made that up on the spot, but wouldn't that be a cool thing to be able to offer? Yeah. So for my people, what I did, well, I threw in various bonuses that if they paid a higher level for the highest level of service that I offered, they got extra things like extra late cancels, bonus premium times, that kind of stuff. That's kind of what I did. But y'all, what I'll tell you, what I have learned from doing this, first of all, less is more. Second of all, make it easy for them. So the whole benefit of buying a package for this kind of work is that they don't have to pay you every week. They don't have to think about it at all. It's already done. They pay it one time, poof, it's over. And they just show up. They don't have to bring their checkbook. You don't have to pull out a card. You don't have to go in and ding them after the session. It's already paid for. Easy peasy. All you have to do is keep up with the numbers so you know when to turn around and offer them the next one. Because these are the kind of packages they will buy over and over and over again. Y'all, I've lost count of how many of these I've sold over the years. From the beginning, when I first started using this idea, I have always had clients who like it. Now, I have some who don't care about it. And they're like, I just assume pay you every time. That's fine. Okay, I make more money when you do it that way. That's fine with me. But I offer this as a service for those who want it. And a lot of people really, really like it. So here's how you get that template. Go to my website, wendypittsreeves.com/service package. All one word, service package. wendypittsreeves.com/service package. So this kind of template will work with ongoing counseling work, life coaching work, energy sessions. It could work with yoga classes. It could work with physical therapy. It could work with chiropractic. Anything where people are likely to come back to you over and over again for several months or even several years. Like you're just their go-to person. They pop in and out when they need it. That's where this is going to help you. So wendypittsreeves.com/service package, and you will find that. Okay? Print that out. Get a pencil, a calculator, and some scrap paper and start playing with the numbers, thinking about what feels best for your clients, what you know works for them and also works for you. All right? And see what you come up with. All right, that's what I've got for you today, everybody. I hope that's helpful. I know it will be. Let's print this out and do this. And you can totally do this starting tomorrow, right away. I will answer one quick question. No, you can't do this if you're taking insurance. Not really. Because, that's copay. And that pretty much is what it is. You don't really have any flexibility. This is for self-pay clients, okay? This will not work so much for insurance. We'll have to have that conversation later. And with that, I will let you go so you can get on to designing your first service-based package. There you go. Have a good one, y'all, and I will see you next week right here on Ideal Practice. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.